Welcome to the Startup Grind.
How did you plant the seed of your misfortunes between 2000 and 2010?
I didn't think about what I was doing then as content marketing, if you will. I was just using a resource that I already had, and I stumbled into it, I would say.
Right. Well, of course, the term didn't even exist back then. But that's great. So you were doing content marketing almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So what happened after that? So after 2000, how did the business go?
Then,
there?
Through the presence that I sort of built through the internet, I was approached by a US business that was the biggest on the park then, doing passport and travel visa services in the US, selling US passports and say visas to particular countries that US nationals need to have to go visit, like Turkey, for example, at that time. They'd have, say, Coca-Cola as their customer, and because 40-50% of Americans don't have passports, they had this business where they would go to Coca-Cola, this executive is going to Turkey, they apply for his passport, they take it onto the Turkish consulate or embassy, get the Turkish visa endorsed in the passport, and then deliver it to him at his desk. They had a fantastic clientele, but they weren't selling them what they thought they really could sell them, which was employment visa and other types of immigration service into those jurisdictions. So they went out and they looked for the best-in-class providers around the world and then forged relationships with them. And they came into my office one day and said, hey, we would like you to be our partner. So I rubbed my hands in glee and said, yeah, sure, I'll be your partner. And sometime later, much to my chagrin, I did a deal with them that in 2006, quite a few years later, unraveled to the point where I effectively handed over the keys to the business that I built up all of those years and didn't get compensated for it. But that was my mistake. I was stupid then. So.
Well, I've been there too. I had a similar experience. So 2006, things took a turn for the worst, and then how did you rebuild after that?
Oh, well, I'm a bit of a riverboat gambler, so I've got to go back a bit as well. So in 97, 98, I took a lot of the money that I made in the early days in immigration and put it into a medical devices business. And we took that from an acquisition that was basically a diamond in the dirt type acquisition. It was a business unit from a publicly listed company that developed a really interesting technology as part of their military defense research activities. And it involved the use of high frequency microwaves to achieve very precise tissue destruction. So we picked that business up. I put a lot of money into it. We raised a lot of money. We got it up to a $200 million US valuation at one point, and then the final fundraise that we needed to get us to profitability after having got FDA approvals and got it registered in Europe and also in Australia, and placed some machines here in Hong Kong, also in Singapore, in Australia, in New Zealand. We essentially needed to get this extra batch of money and take it to profitability. The date on the fundraise document was December 31st, 2000, and if you can stretch your mind back that far, that was when the dot bomb happened. Yep. And we couldn't raise any money after that. And so we managed to sort of keep the business together, holding the essential value together right the way through till we were able to negotiate an emergency funding, and that emergency funding had a closing date of the end of September 2001, and they happened to be based in the World Trade Center. So when the Twin Towers fell, the business fell as well, and I lost all my interest in it.
Wow, that's amazing. I hadn't heard that story before.
Yeah, it's my microsilus years. And then in the interim, I moved my young family from Hong Kong to Western Australia, and in order to facilitate that, I needed an immigration vehicle, and so I put $1.5 million of my own Australian dollars of my own money and other people's money into a software business called Orla, which was basically turned Microsoft Outlook into a really usable piece of software. And we developed that for 7 years, learned a great deal about workflow and how people work in a modern workplace. And unfortunately, the Asian economic crisis hit, and not the Asian economic, the global financial crisis hit. It shows how old I am. Yeah, the global financial crisis hit, and we couldn't make any progress after that. So I had to shutter that and be done with another loss under my belt.